Wired senior editor and Bloomberg editor Nick Thompson here, Bloomberg contributor Nick Thompson here to talk about this entire affair. Quite interesting. First of all, I thought Apple kept these things under lock and key, right? I mean, how did this engineer bring it out?
Well, they do keep them under lock and key, but at a certain point, you need people to test them in real life and carry them around. You need to open it up a little bit. So this phone is going on the market probably in 2 months. So this is about the window when a few people are going to start taking it out. Now, ideally, they don't get drunk and leave it on a bar stool, but that happens sometimes.
Is that essentially what happened?
Well, that's apparently what happened. And it was a bar stool in Silicon Valley. So, of course, the people who saw it said, wait a second, what's this? You know, it was disguised to look like a regular iPhone.
Right.
But they poked it, looked around a little bit and said, wait a second, this isn't a regular iPhone. This is something else.
Right. Their curiosity was piqued. And
a bar anywhere else in the country, you know, return that to the bartender.
Exactly. We think, oh, this is just a regular iPhone.
Yeah.
Okay, so this engineer, by the way, I mean, do we know who he is?
Yeah, they think Gizmodo thinks they've identified him. They had a Facebook chat with him. He's a sort of low-level, mid-20s engineer.
Okay. He must be shaking in his boots now.
Who's probably shaking in his boots right now.
Okay. All right. Well, the details of this have now come out about this. A front-facing camera, right? Yeah. It's got a bit of a larger battery. I mean, what do you make of this so far?
Well, what's amazing is that it's not that extraordinary phone. It's not like it does things that nobody could have thought of before. It does sort of what we all expected. The reason why there's so much excitement about this is because Apple keeps everything so locked up, because they're such control freaks. And so it was kind of like all the schadenfreude of the blogosphere to like, Apple finally got busted.
And we knew that a new prototype was coming or not?
We knew a new prototype was coming. We knew it was going to come this summer. I mean, they talked about the Apple 4.0 operating system. So we knew that a new phone would be designed with this operating system in mind. So it wasn't like somebody got the iPad before we knew there'd be an iPad.
Right.
It's just like the latest upgrade of the phone. But it's still a very fun story, and it shows what can happen.
Well, and how likely is what we've seen from this Gizmodo website? How likely is that the real thing that's going to be out in a couple
months? It's possible it's all an elaborate hoax. There are all sorts of theories in the blogosphere. You know, perhaps it was Apple. Maybe Apple left it on purpose to try to take attention away from the new Droid phone. Perhaps it's a fake. Perhaps it's a spoof. Most likely it's real, and it's as was reported on the Gizmodo site. Now, one very interesting part is Gizmodo did pay for this. Now, that's a violation of all sorts of journalistic standards. We don't pay for stories. You don't do it at Bloomberg. We don't do it at Wired. If you did, all sorts of crazy things would happen because somebody with something to tell you would demand that they get paid for it. It would create all sorts of weird standards. But the blogosphere has different standards. Gizmodo's out there. They did it, and
I was going to say, I'm not sure if Gizmodo, I mean, if you would hold Gizmodo up to the same journalistic standards, but
no, of course not. But they compete against Wired, for example. So Gadget News, you know, Gizmodo and Gadget, Wired, other sites. So Gizmodo is playing by different rules, and it has some benefits that you get to see these stories, and it has some costs, and then it makes the whole profession a little bit harder.
Certainly fun to see. You know, you've got the drunkenness, you've got you know, new technology, Apple. It all makes for a great story.
You've got rumors of a Steve Jobs phone call to Nick Denton last night that may have been off the record. Who knows? Asking for the phone back.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Nick.